Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. And to all my YouTube viewers who will be watching this, if you like it, please share it. Help someone else see it. Because if you like it, I assume they would also like it, right? So let's go. I'm going to go pretty quick because my computer crashed today and there's a possibility it will crash again. If it crashes before half of it, you will not see this in YouTube. So if you're seeing it in YouTube, it crashes somewhere to the end of it, right? We will still post it and then I'll continue in my group with the rest of the thing. If this doesn't get on YouTube in time, I'll probably extend it tomorrow to you guys. So let's go. Let's start on the dollar index. As expected, once it goes back to the top, last week I told you guys that there's a good chance they're going to correct downwards, which is what they did. It correct downwards, and now we're going sideways, which means you've got an impulse and you're making a correction. I expect this correction to tag or break the top, come back to the low, probably go back up, come back down, go back up, come back down. That's one of the options, or just break down lower. Right? The faster this break down lower, the higher the probabilities we're coming back to this low. The longer it takes here, the higher the probabilities we're going to go up higher. Both of those are possible depending on what pattern you get in here. So if I give you a forecast that it's going to go down, that might not likely happen this week. And we will be buying it. We will first get the downside and then we'll be buying it because it first will come down. After tagging or breaking that top, we'll expect them to come down for the next impulse down. Now it might not come down immediately. They can do this, go back up, do this, go back up, like I said. So we will trade within the zone. I'm not sure as YouTube traders whether you'll be able to do that without having the hour by hour, the day by day, update on this, or it could drop. So right now we'll expect it to break the top, then I'm looking for a sell. And if it drops, we'll continue to sell. At that point, at some point, it might go back up or it might just continue to go down. Right? Now, why all of that complicated thing of what it can do is because of where we are in the bigger structure, right? Where we are in the bigger structure. We're still in the consolidation. Now, time is totally running out for me, so I'm not going to go into all those details. My traders pretty much got it. If you've been following me, I think you get it. If you didn't get it, then please go watch more of my videos. And if you would like to learn this, send me a Skype message. All the details where you can message me is in the description. That's the last thing I'll say about getting to me. Let's go now. So I'm on the UK oil. The reason I'm on the UK oil here is because we were tracking the UK oil last week for the buy setup, which we got. So there are numerous amount of buy, very short-term buy setups. And if you take the buy, you have to take the profit off, right? Don't keep the trade for longer term because the longer term on this thing is downside, which means there's going to be a very sharp move to the downside anytime. And I mean anytime because all the criteria for that to happen is already there. We just have to wait for this up move to complete itself. What do I mean by that? Well, they can have a number of these going up. You can see them. These are all buy setups. And we could probably get one of that today, which means if you get a consolidation here and you get a drop, that's a buy setup for the upside, right? Similar to this one, or similar to this one, or similar to this one, or similar to this one. Those will all be buy setups. It's going to be one impulse. You take the profit, you close the trade, and you look for sell setups. If you get a sell setup, I don't think we will get a sell setup because it's a very short impulse. The sell setup will start with a pretty much very big impulse, a very sharp drop. And then from there, we'll see. There's still the potential for running flat because this is pretty sharp and we don't have anything to go with it. So once that remains there, there's a potential for a sharp move like that, retest of the top and then the downside. So it's an uptrend. You keep buying until the trend fails. So at what point do you know it fail? Well, any move to the downside is a sell setup. If you get a sell setup here, you can only take it for short terms. Depending on how it's structured itself, I think that would be very short term, one drop, but the bigger trade would be the buy to the upside, especially if you come back to the top, which means if this worked its way back to the top there, then coming here, then that would be a buy setup. If it makes a small flag here, that would be a short term sell, maybe another short term sell, maybe another short term sell, and then we go back up. That will give us the running flat, right? If that doesn't occur and it continues to make flats, we're going to continue to buy there. Silver. Silver was like magic. It didn't do what we expected to do last week in terms of going back up after you break the low. So let's go through this a little more in details. I hope my computer doesn't crash. I'm pretty nervous about it crashing and we don't get to finish the webinar. So we were expecting them to come to this low last week and go back up. If you remember, we took the sell, which is amazing. I actually closed the sell somewhere. I can't remember what has happened in here, whether we took, I think there was a trade at the bottom here, but that didn't go very well, which means it didn't break even trade. As you can see, we're consolidating here. This is still a corrective structure. It's not an impulsive structure to the downside. I don't think we're starting a big move to the downside. I think we're making a bigger correction in here. And that means we're going to expect this to do some more upside, retest the low, and then probably up. Those are the patterns that I can see forming from what we have right now. What we did last week was the sell. That was a good one if you got the sell and this to the drop. If not, we're looking for a buy, which we might not get. This morning it was here, and we said we're looking for a buy, but the flag is going to be here. So if you get a flag here, you could consider a buy to break the top. Once it breaks the top, we can probably go a little more. If they get a bigger one like this, which means if this stays here for a longer while, we'll get one more impulse up, and then we're going down. This would be a bigger flat pattern forming here. How complex this can get? Well, that's a long story, but it can get very complex. Now, we can deal with each piece as it's developed, and we can decide whether it's a buy, whether it's a sell, whether it's a good one, whether it has which to reward. All of that once measured will decide whether you take the trade. Now, trading in these small zones are a little difficult. They're possible, but a little difficult, especially if you don't have experience, because you get tagged on the wrong side of the trade and watch it go the opposite direction, right? So if you were selling this morning and you didn't get out of the trade when it hits the low, if you didn't know that that was an exit time for you, which we knew because we had this arrow here from last week, we knew once you come to the low here, you have to exit the trade because it has to go back up and you have to be careful. We're going to get an up move. And if, depending on the size of that flag, we'll decide whether it's a good buy, whether it's a, you stay out of it and wait for the sell. I think it's going to stay here for a while because if they're making this move up, they might repeat similar patterns. Not necessary, but possible. So we'll keep an eye on it for the trade. Gold. Gold, on the other hand, didn't have to do that. Remember, I said gold could be total downside based on that because we didn't have a big flat pattern at the top of the gold structure. You had a nice impulse, a correction, a nice impulse, a correction. You have trending mode on gold, which means it's looking downside. This was last week also, 1, 2, 3. This was the drop. It dropped, broke the low. We're going back up, and that's completed this pattern. Just completed that pattern. But that is inside of this. So we're looking for this up. We're looking for this up. And then down. So once we get a move like that to the upside here, we're going to expect it to break the top, and then we'll be looking for the downside. Can it make a few more? One more correction, one more up, one more correction, one more up, and then drop? Also possible. But for the starting, you need a move up and then the downside. So let's see what pattern we get here. Is it going to be a big correction, a small correction? We're considering a buy. I would probably consider a buy here for the upside and see how fast it goes, how slow it goes, whether it becomes something more complex like this or a simple flag. We're looking for one more impulse up. It can be like this, or it can be one sharp move and then downside. Euro. Okay, so we're making a bigger correction at the bottom half of the last impulse down, which this is the last impulse down. Now, I still think we're in correction here because the whole structure of this, we didn't break that up, we didn't break the low. And we're coming back here. We didn't break the low. If we go back up to the top, we'll probably be consolidating here for upside, which means this would become a bigger consolidation. If this stays at the bottom here and we get a sell setup, if this flag stays at the bottom here with a sell setup, we'll sell it. And we might sell it to break the low because that is going to be a running flat and then making it a bigger picture. On the small picture, you've got an impulse. You're getting a flat, which is amazing, which means you're going to expect another impulse. We got an impulse. Now, you can look at this the way you can say, what if that is a contracting flat and this is the top? We'll sell this. If it becomes a bigger flat, we'll sell it. If this goes up and break the top again, we'll go with the expanding flat. Let it break the top, look for sell setups. I think we will still be in a bigger consolidation here. And possibly one more down. So for trade setups, as of now, you're getting a short-term sell setup here, a very short-term sell setup. I still think this is all consolidation, which means we're going to retest the top. So if it doesn't break this for the sell, or if you get the sell, you'll have to be careful. What if it doesn't break up and it goes back up? It has to go up like this, make a flag, and we'll consider a buy. Anything like this, probably a smaller one, a smaller flag, maybe something like this here, and we'll consider the buy. We'll assume that this is a running flat. And I think it's possible it's a running flat. So we look for that option. Pound, definitely looking for upside. You make a flag, you drop, you make a flag, you drop. We're in this one, we're going back up to retest this top. Take that off, we're recessing that top. So any buy setup we get there, we'll go with it. Could this drop back here lower, make a flag here, and then drop one more? Absolutely. But we're very close to the low of this. So any sell here will have to be short term. This eventually will go back up. So the buy is a must, the sell is maybe. So what would be the buy setup? Give us a flag here and we'll take the buy. Any flag we get, we'll buy. Aussie. Aussie looks more upside. So last week when we were expecting this to drop, and then it actually did this. So I said, okay, wait for one more drop. Forget about a sell, wait for one more drop and look for a buy setup. Right, so we've got the one more drop here now. We've got a running flat. Look for a buy setup somewhere here and we'll take the trade to the upside. I think this is pretty simple. Right, so can you drop lower? There's a rare case where the C wave has three parts in it, like a three-wave structure. Drop one more and then go, but it will be an expanding flat. It's still upside. I still think this is upside for more correction before we come down. New Zealand, pretty much the same thing. You're getting that. I think we're making another flat here. We're making another flat here, probably go up some more, come back here and then upside. This looks more upside than downside. Right, so we're trending to a bit because we're trying to correct this bigger move as well, right? We're still in this big sideways move. 1, 2, 3, I think it's here. I'll take it to that point, and this is all part of the P wave, and we're trying to get back to the top. At some point, we'll make a deeper correction, which is like this or like that, right? At some point, you'll get deeper correction. But not in this one. The first impulse is too small for a deeper correction, right? The first impulse is pretty small. So this would be more of a flat or a flag for upside. So we can look for buy setups. Swiss, we've made 1, 2, 3 down. Turned out to be the running flat we were looking for. Come down, look for buy setups. Can this continue to go up without more correction? Absolutely. In this case, it can do that. We can look for more upside, right? Because we made 1, we made 2, we made 3. This means this can totally take off. That's a good buy setup. If they don't take off, but rather consolidate more in here, which means rather than go, they come down deep in here and start to make something like this, then we'll get a bigger flat here for downside. But if this little flag break to the upside, we'd rather be in that trade. Because this is a complete 1, 2, 3 pattern. It can get more complex with a series of 1, 2, 3 if it takes off. But if it gets bigger, well, then we'll just ignore the buy, wait for the setups, probably take a buy from the bottom to the top for a C wave, sell within this range, and then look for the sell. Right, sell and buy within this range if they start to do this, and then look for the sell. But right now, I think that's a perfect one for upside. It can go as it stands. So that buy setup is a must. We'll look for it. Put an entry order above the top. It's ready to go. CAD. CAD is more complex. They did make a three wave. They didn't break the low. See, it came down really slow. It's not breaking the low. So we'll assume that that three wave might be a three wave impulsive move while we're making a corrective structure in here. And there's a likelihood that this is going to drop some more. Let's take out this one. There's a likelihood that this correction is going to climb up a little like this, but it's going to drop back here. So we might end up in some kind of a bigger correction here, another 1, 2, 3 up, and then downside. If we get buy setups here, you can consider them. You could get a sharp one like that. You know, you never know. That's possible. If it starts to break out, I don't think this will break out. They'll probably go up and then start a break. We can look for a sell setup and a flag here. Retest the low, go back up. I don't think this is all. If this was all, we'd be dropping already. We wouldn't be making a bigger correction inside of the correction. That's a more complex pattern developing. Yen. Okay, so yen dropped. It went back. We're making a bigger flat. It didn't break the top. We thought this would go break the top. That didn't happen. It actually dropped some more. They did break out of the top, but it didn't take off as we thought it would do. It didn't give us a simple flat. It's giving us a more complex pattern. And that means no matter what happens here, there's a chance we're going to make a new high. Right? It's a more complex pattern, which means at some point we will make a new high. Right? We'll make a new high and then we'll look for the downside. So it can consolidate here for a while more. I can probably see them, going back up, dropping if they have to, and then up. Then we'll get the drop. It will still drop because we're not breaking out of this running flat pattern. We're just making a new high. That's all within this structure. This still can't be all the correction. There's nowhere that is all the correction and this is the impulse. So we're likely making a running flat that has extension in it. We barely broke the top once. We can go pretty high before they come down for a more extended running flat pattern. Euro yen. Is a perfect buy setup. You don't want it better than that. You've got an impulse, you've got a flat, you're getting another impulse. Can it go a little lower, deeper into this? They can. The less they go into that, the better the trade become. So this was the sell. If you were taking the sell, close it, look for a buy above the top. If this goes up, if we get a flag before that, we buy before that. If you get a flag in here, we take the flag to the upside. If they break out the stop, this is definitely a buy. So you've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. Is it ready to duck? Can we make a flat here and go down some more? Can this come back here? I don't know, make a series of flat here like this and drop 1 more within the structure? Absolutely. But we're looking for the buy if we get it. The buy is a better deal than the sell. If we get a good risk to reward in the sell to the downside, we'll consider that. But the buy is what you're looking for. Right. Pang Yen. Consolidating. There's a good chance that if we get a good consolidation here, we will make a new high, because this looks like a reversal point for us. Right now, it's a sell setup. Short term, this should be a sell. There's a flat forming here. Come back to this level, and that should be a sell. So how deep they can come back? They can come back all the way to the bottom. If this works its way to the bottom here, well, we will be looking for a big flat and a drop. Right? We'll be expecting this to be the P part of it. Go back up there and then down. The lower it comes, the better it is for us, for the downside. If it's just drop here and start to reverse, which means if we just break this low, go there, come back, break the low, and then start to reverse, get a flag here, buy it, that means we'll get a new high. So it's open to both of those. I think the new high is a better chance because of the big, this 1, 2, 3 pattern before we reverse. It didn't give 5, but 3, so there's a likelihood we're going up. Aussie Yen. Also look for upside. I think we'll get a bigger flat here. We've got a series of small flats. That was a buy on Friday. Take that off. We've got a series of small flats here. So I think this could correct a little more deeper before we go. Let's see which one we get. We'll have to wait for on the flag to form here or buy the breakout of this. You either get a flag or the breakout of that. New Zealand yen, same thing. I think we're correcting here. This could be a correction that goes. It's bigger than the smaller corrections. We're here for a while. So I don't think this one is going to go. They'll probably come back to the top, come down here, and then go. We'll see something like an expanding triangle looking pattern. It might be a series of expanding flats. It's not a triangular pattern. It looks like a triangle, but there'll be more waves in it, which means you'll probably get a series of expanding flats in it. New Zealand Swiss. You can see the buy setup. You don't need me to tell you that. It's pretty simple. We'll try to see if we can get it from here. If we can't get it from here, we'll buy the breakout. And all of them will give you the same thing. But all of them, you would have to be careful with them. This will retest the top. I think Swiss yen will not retest the top. There's no need for Swiss yen to retest the top. As a matter of fact, I can see this consolidating deeper here, go back there and then drop. This is the single drop. Every other yen pair has a 3-wave structure down. This has a single one down. So we've got to complete a B and a C. And if we stay within this lower range, it's going to be more downside than upside. There's a buy setup coming, but it might not come to this top. I don't think we're trying to. I think we're trying to consolidate here and go. So I wouldn't be surprised if this consolidation turned out to be more downside first, go back there and then drop, something like that. So if we get flag here, we'll sell it. Short-term trades, but we'll sell. Right, and then we'll see where that takes us. Canadian can retest the top. These are more corrective structures. So the buy in the Canadian, the buy in all other yen except the Swiss yen is not a bad idea. If these flags are, these are not flags, these corrections, right? So I can see this dropping a little more here, but if they go up, these would be good buy setups. How low they work their sell down. I think the only one that has the potential for that because of the structure in it is the Swiss yen, but they can all do that, which means they can correct and drop more, and we'll consider which one we sell. Swiss yen, definitely, if we get that, we'll sell, and you can choose anyone else for the sell. EuroCAD. Okay, this didn't break out, so let's take that out. That would not be a buy if it doesn't go, and that means, well, we're still consolidating to drop some more. So let's take this out here. It's just going to be a bigger one. It still is a corrective structure. I don't think we ended that structure there. I think it's more of a corrective structure. So we'll wait and see. If we ended that structure there, we'll retest the low, not a sell setup. I don't think we should go for the sell here. Just ignore it. No risk to reward in that trade. Euros. Yep, we can sell these. If you're trying to sell from last week, it turned out good. Wait for a bigger correction here. Now these are small corrections. They're over. We're making a bigger correction. And once we prove a bigger correction here, we'll start to look for sell setups. It is making a bigger correction, so we'll get the sell setup in it. Could it possibly be a running flat for one more up? Let's assume that this is a running flat. Let me just bring this across here. Could it possibly we were looking at this as some kind of a running flat for one more up? Well, if we get a sharp impulse and a flag, then we'll consider it buy. I think most likely it looks like they're correcting, right? It looks like they're just correcting here, making corrections here for upside, and that could be something of its own, right? So let's see which one we get. Do we get an impulse and a flag or corrections? As of now, it's correction, right? They're going to go up there, probably do this a while, and then we look for downside. You're in New Zealand, downside, keep selling. Some of us might still be in the sell. If you close the sell for break even or positive and then re-enter, that's good. I think this one is finished, and we're making a bigger flat here. So the smaller one that we sold last week is finished. It's making a bigger flat, right? This made a low, and I think we're making some kind of a bigger flat here. Well, let's see. After that, we'll get sell setups. Euro Swiss. We can change this because they went up there. It looks like a consolidation forming here for more downside, or consolidation for more upside. So we have this move up. That was pretty slow last week. We're making a bigger consolidation. If we stay within this range, within the top half of this, we'll look for upside. Basing on the way it went up, looking at the way this went up slowly, there's a high probability that we will make a new low and then go back up. See, when they go so slow up, I think we had a few moves like that that went up really slow. This one went slow. This deep pullback. This one went slow, deep pullback. This one went slow, deep pullback. This is the sharp move, a single sharp move. So this one has got to come back down all the way to the bottom here, go back up, and then we can consider that a flat. As of now, if we stay here, we're going up. So this could be a buy setup here this week. Let's see. Europound, definitely looking for the buy. I think we're getting a running flat there for a buy. This might be worth looking at. Getting a running flat or something like that forming here, that's a buy setup. At least back to the top, and then the chances are that they can break out. I don't think they'll break out, but that chance, that's a real chance that it could break out. So if we get this to go back up and break the top, that'd be a good trade. Pound New Zealand. It's kind of going down, but we're making some bigger consolidation here from last week. Also, if you took the trade, you probably close it for break even. It's still consolidating in the bottom half of this, which means all of this is still in consolidation. Probably come back here, go back there and do a few more of this, but then that is downside. So the more they consolidate here, the more we're looking for the sell setup. So after that big move, you get a consolidation. We're expecting this after that consolidation here, which would be bigger. I think we'll probably get a much bigger consolidation here. We're expecting this move down. So the more you get a consolidation here, the higher the probability is this is going to be a very fast drop to the downside. So I don't think today we'll get any trade here. Maybe tomorrow not, if they stay in that sideways move. If it drops faster with a small flag, we can go for the trade. Right now, you don't have a small flag. You have a whole flat forming here right now. See? So I think this would probably come back here for running flat. We'll probably go back up to complete this one. Probably come back down to complete this one. I'll probably go back up to complete this one. And then we can look for the sell. If that is all it gives us. Right? So that's a possibility. Keep your eyes on that. Pangos, also downside. We did come down on this one. This one was this. It did break the low. It go back up, making consolidation in here. So you can take this out. All these played out very well. Take this out. This is the low now, and we are consolidating within this. This could go a little more, come back. I think we'll make something like this, most likely, and then downside. Do I think that could go back and retest the top? Let's see if that possibility exists. And there is a slight chance for that if you consider this a running flat. There's a slight chance for that, but because of the deep pullback in here, I think it's It's slight. We did have a deep pullback here, right? And they did climb up. So we'll see. Maybe it could climb. If they make a running flat, they can climb, right? If this turns out to be a running flat here, come back like this and then go. Right? If this takes off, we'll look for the buy. If they take off, they could go really fast. And then we'll see the downside. Right? If it stays within the lower range, then it will be a sell. So we just have to either take the trades on the buy and see how far they go for them to break even, or just leave it until it consolidates. Okay. Okay, I think we might get some more downside because there's a high probability they'll come and retest the low, right? If we're looking at a possible big correction here, right, for downside. Could it be that we're still making this a bigger correction? A bigger running flat for upside? We'll have to relook at it to see whether that is a possibility. But for now, I think this is it, and we were going to go test the low. So I'll keep this one here and see whether this goes to the low. There were good sell setup, 2 good sell setups that should have been closed already. That is this one, that's a sell out. And this was a sell also last week out. There are flats in there. Remember, there are flats in there that we sold. This flat and this one. It's going up strong, but we don't have any buy setup in it. Sorry. One second, guys. My voice is going first. If we get this, then we look for a buy setup. So let's see if we get this here. If we get a flag there, we'll look for a buy setup. And we'll consider that it can go higher. If it doesn't go higher, which means this flag becomes a flat. If you get a flag here, and it just break the top and start to pull back, the flag becomes a flat. We'll get break even on the flag, but we'll look for the sell setup on the break of the structure. Pound Swiss. Okay, this sell is off. You're consolidating here, and this is a good thing. Once you get this consolidation here, that will confirm bigger upside. All the pounds are still confirming bigger downside, sorry. Once you get a flat in here, if they stay in this one, we'll consider more downside. Can this thing go up higher? I don't think so. I think we might have completed this pattern here. I think we might have completed that one there. So I'm looking for downside. Let's see if we get a flag here to there. More of a flat. Let's see if we get a flat there to there first up. So I want this to stay in this consolidation. Then we look for the sell setup. Aussie CAD. Okay, they broke the top. They didn't go very much. They make a very sharp drop. It's not going anywhere because we're pulling back very sharp against it. Oh, what the big picture looks like. Not very much. I think this might go back like this, but then this all becomes a flat. See? Even if this makes some consolidation here and go back up there, which is likely what you're going to see, and go back up, it's all a consolidation for downside. So it's a big flat forming for downside. There's some more up to break these stops, but then it's down. Aussie, New Zealand. Yeah, probably will break to the top. You just don't want to trade it. You don't want to trade it to the downside. You don't want to trade it to the upside. Aussie, Swiss. Okay, so this might be a bigger flat in the making here. Looks like an expanding flat there. Let's see whether that's. So it's on a 15. Yeah, you could make an argument for that, a bigger expanding kind of flat pattern. We're breaking the top here, there's a problem. We're inside the structure and we're exactly at where we think it could come down. This move hasn't really been the most explosive up impulse. So if I'm going to buy it, what we want to do is we want to see this break out of the structure and then make another flag here, not an expanding one, but a very nice flag here for the buy. If we get it outside of the structure, it would be a very good buy setup because then we're going to go for the big impulse up. We'd assume that this is finished and we're going up for a big impulse. If they decide to drop lower, we'll look for a sell setup. It's going to break the top, drop, make an impulse downward, make a flag, and we'll sell it. New Zealand, Swiss, same thing. All the Swiss pairs, they've come back to the top of the corrective structure. So now they've got to tell us, is it going to make a down move again, or are we breaking out? And the one over it, they're all of them. Euro Swiss, Aussie Swiss, Pound Swiss, New Zealand Swiss. They're not very sharp to the upside. Remember that deep correction? This one was a buy, this was a buy, this is a buy. And we might be making a bigger flat here because we've got one down and we've got one up. So I think if we make a bigger flat here and we stay within this range for the flat, we will buy it. We'll definitely look for the buy setup because this is going to break out. And once it breaks out, it's going to be the trade we're looking for. Let's go. Let's go. New Zealand CAD. Looks a little more downside right now, right? Because this piece is not making another flat here. Let's hope this becomes another flat. And if you get another flat here and you go up one more and you keep doing that, the chances are this will go down. But we can look for the buy in this flat, see how far it goes, especially if we get it from the C wave going, that would be a better buy, right? So assuming we're in the B part of it now, this is the A, that's a B, we get a C wave down, we look for the buy. Swiss, dollar yuan. You're getting a correction sell. This is a sell, but that's more of a corrective trade within this bigger down move, right? Within this bigger up move right now. That's we're about to probably start a bigger trade up, or this is a deep correction and we're going down. So either way, it's a sell setup. Whether it's sorry, within the correction, sorry guys, whether it's within the correction here, or whether we're trying to drop, the sell setup is a good one. Take it for a short-term trade. And once it breaks a low, put it in the profit, wait to see how far it goes. Cat Swiss, we're getting a sell setup here. I don't think we're doing this, so we can take this out and put it here. And let it fall, and then we'll come back and see how we look at this piece. It's not the running flat, that's for sure. So I don't think we should buy into this. This is going up really slow. If it has to break the top, let it break the top. Make a full flat, and then we'll go for the buy, which means, what do I mean by that? If it has to break this top here and do this and then come back here, that'll be a flat for upside. Look for a buy setup. It's within the correction, but look for a buy setup. We're still within this downtrend where we can get a buy setup to the top there. Actually, you might be getting that buy setup already. See, they're going up. Look for a flag and take the trade. US oil, same as the UK oil. Just this didn't come down. We didn't get this one here. But you see, there is a buy setup here. A buy setup we called in the trading room. That was this buy setup. If you took it off, you can buy it here. And it went up not quite a lot. So you have got to be careful with this. It's not moving really fast. Actually, they're moving really slow with a lot of pullback in it. So if you take the trades, you get it to positive, take positive, or take the small profit out of it, because it could continue to do it. I still think we will get this somewhere in the future, because I don't see that as all the correction. So somewhere in the future, we're going to get that. You can take this out for now. And we really don't have a sell setup here as yet. Neither do we have a buy setup. So we'll wait some more, let it consolidate here, and then probably we'll get one more buy. Natural gas. That was a buy. Every flag you get, you can buy now. Every correction you get, you can buy. US 30. That was a buy, and we were at the top. I still think we have some more to go to break the top, break this top at least, and then come back down. So there might be more buy setups. Short term, if you get a correction here, look for a buy. NASDAQ. It could work its way down back to the trend line. I can see them probably doing this and, doing this and doing this, and then we'll get a buy setup. So short-term sell with the hope that this can, make a few. What if it drops suddenly? Is it possible they can do that? From where we are, it's possible. If we consider this the flat, this thing could drop. And it could drop really big, because you notice they're dropping very big here in these moves. So, a sell possible? Sure, if you get a sell setup, go for it. You just have to manage it not to take a loss on the trade if it starts to go back up, right? DAX, okay, we just got a flat here, a bigger flat on DAX. This is a bigger flat here, see that? It was a small one, they went up, they make a flat, they went up. Show you this on the 15. This was a small one, went up, make another one, make a bigger one. I think we're coming down now. And we might be coming down for a running flat. No, sorry, regular flat. We could be coming down here for a regular flat. And then probably one more up. There's a good chance this smaller flat in here will come and break this top, and maybe even a little higher, because I'm expecting them to literally go break this top. Can we take this sell? If you take that sell, you have to just watch it when it comes to this low. Not this low. Let me take it here. Can it be a running flat breaking? You'll see this bigger one. It turned out to be more of a running flat, but we haven't broke the top yet, so that's not confirmed. Right? We still have to let this come down here and then go back up. If you get a sell setup here, might not be a bad idea. Wait for a small flag, sell it, and then look for the buy. S&P 500. Go for the buy. This was a buy. This buy could have probably been done here, and like we did in the trading room, if you want. This was a buy, and you might get a buy here also. Either wait for a lower point where you get a flag to buy, or let this correction finish and then look for the buy. AU200, you might get a buy here. Not the best one because we're inside of it. This will be a flat. You're getting a flat inside of that impulse down. This was a down impulse. This was an up impulse. This is your flat. You probably make a next impulse, come back down here and then go. So you can look for that trade, and then you can look for this trade, and then you can look for the upside. Nifty. Probably some more downside here first. And then one more up. You get a flat here. If you get a sell, you could go for that piece. Tesla. Starting to come back down, which is within the correction. That's normal. I think we could get a sharp wave down here too. A pretty sharp one. Go for running flat, go back up, and then we'll still come down. We're just making bigger corrections within the corrective structure, right? See that? So you can take this out. This would be pretty useless. You can take that out too. So 1, 2, 3 up. You kind of get a 1, 2, 3 up. You get a sharp one. You get a correction here. Another sharp one. Another 1, 2, 3 up. It will be a long time before we stay in this, right? We can start making those forecasts pretty much. Amazon. It's coming back down, and this would be strange. It didn't break out. So if they stop here and go back up, take the buy. If it comes back down to the low, we were expecting Amazon to come. If it come back down, we might relook at the entire structure, this entire structure. It's still a correction. We might relook at it because this one is supposed to be one sharp move down. If this makes 3 in here, we'll have to relook at all these trees to see how much more trees they are coming, how much more corrective structure is there that is incomplete, right? So we will relook at this. This might not be the most corrective part. That might be the most corrective part on this 1, 2, 3. What if we're starting another 1, 2, 3 here? And then another 1, 2, 3 up, and then a final sharp move down before we go. We could be here for a longer time than we think, right? So if this come back to the low, I'm definitely relooking at the structure for a more complex pattern than it is right now. If they consolidate here and break out, good, that would be great for us because that means this pattern just ended there. Right, that running flat ended at this point and it didn't come to this level. And that is okay. It doesn't have to come to where we think it's going to go. That's a forecast. It came down, it started to go up. If we get a flag here, that'll be a perfect buy. It's a buy you should not miss. If they come back here, make something like this and make a flat like that, that is a buy you should not miss. Because that after this consolidation is starting a very big impulsive move to the upside. So BA Finance. We're consolidating here for more upside. So you can see that consolidation is getting bigger and bigger. They'll probably stay there for a while. Reliance. Coming back down. So it means we have not completed this flat, right? I was looking at the flat as being completed, but it means we might not complete it. We might still be in it, a bigger flat forming. Kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we'll have to relook at it. This is sharp. So we'll have to relook at this whole piece and see why. If they come lower, it is correction. We're still in that zone. What the pattern actually is and how long more we can consolidate in it. But if you get a flag here, sell. It's that simple. If they make a flag here, sell it. Right. US oil, pretty much like the UK oil. Sorry, what am I did? So I slipped. Go to the Reliance. Let's go PayPal. PayPal is going up. So at this point, you start to look for the downside of PayPal because we're still in this correction. And this one went up as we expected. So from here, you start looking for sell setups. We're coming back to this level. There's a good chance we could even go back up, depending on how we look at this. Right? Do we look at this as the correction? If that is the case, we'll totally go break the low. So look for sell setups from the top there. If we get it, we'll take the trades. Those are good. You're actually getting a sell setup right now. You've got a nice impulse downwards, and you're getting some consolidation here. This could be a good sell. That might be the start of the next impulse down. Bitcoin. Okay, we didn't go all the way. We made a bigger flat. I was expecting 1, 2, 3 go back up. So they came deeper. It's still a 1, 2, 3, and we're going back up. This becomes a flat. I'm not sure this is the one that will go all the way to the top here. It's still possible that this makes a bigger expanding flat and still go all the way to the top there. Or we're making a more complex correction, right? Which means a series of corrective structures within it. We'll just have to restructure them to see, right? Right now, it's a buy. If you get a buy set up here, go for it for one impulse up, and then hope you're lucky to get it there and then downside, right? Because that could be, we're looking for this wave up. It should have been sharp. It's not very sharp to the upside. So that means we'll have to relook at it if it becomes more corrective to the upside, which means a more complex pattern, right? And then the downside, it's still a correction. It hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, it's getting more corrective than we thought. XRP. Okay, this also went up nicely, but it didn't hold out. So which means we're making more corrections and more downside. How deep can this go? That'd be strange because this is pretty sharp and there's nothing for that. So the deeper this goes, the longer the running flat would be. I can see this coming here, going back there, making a flat, dropping down. Come back here, make a long running flat. We'll still have to go down more, and then we're in a very, very, very deep correction. Can this go and retest the low? I think we did that in our group already, and said that high probability that we can retest the low. We can retest this low. All of this will be the B wave. Everything in here will be the B wave, and then we're coming down, right? So can we say that the B wave started from here going up there and then coming out? It might be that it started from this point, right? More like a 1, a 2, and we're making a 3. Or a 1, a 2 here, and we're making a 3 there. This would have been the flat. This here would be the flat in this piece. More like a 1, 2, 3, something like that. So you get a 1, a 2, and a 3, and this is just coming back down here before it goes. So let's see. If they do come back to this level, I think we should keep track of this. Forget about buying it here. But if it comes back to this level, that's a must buy. If you get it anywhere in this level, tagging this low again, that's a buy. Because remember, we didn't break this top. This was one of the only few ones that didn't break the top. So if you do come back to the low here, this worked its way back to the low here, right? Whichever way, I don't know, flags, and this becomes just a big flat at the top there for downside. There's a running flat here. It makes a running flat. It starts to come down slowly to this level. This is a buy. This here would be a must buy. You're going to be probably buying it to 10 or 9 point something. And that is a buy you can take the risk on, because then we will come to break this top. So definitely go break that top. So keep your eyes on that. That's a dot. It's coming down. So basically we're making a big consolidation at this point in here. So you've got up, you're come down. You might go back up, make a flat. I think we'll get a flat here at some point. Some kind of a 1, 2, 3. So let's look at it on the 1 hour. And the 1 hour, you're just consolidating right now. Could be more downside before they go, because we have a smaller flat here in the 1 hour to finish. Go back up, come back down, and then start the upside for the daily correction. Same thing here, right? Either this is going to go up now, or it's going to start to make a correction here, drop one more, and then go. Looks more like it's starting making a flat here rather than going up. We're trying to get this and then come back here, make a flat, come back here, and then go. So keep an eye on this to see whether that is what it's doing. If we see that coming. ETH. Well, this is clearly a flat. This is not going now. It will go. We will get that, but not now, because this came lower. So this is a flat. At this point, look for one more down. Right, that's a flat for one more down, and then we'll look for the buy. Dash. This is not necessarily going to be a flat, but if all of them are making flats, this is going to be one of the shallow flats like this, and downside. Okay, this one went up nice. This one actually is the only one that is moving up, right? And it's moving up with this. You had not a nice flag here for a buy. It's coming. You're going to get a running flat. Expect a running flat here and then downside. So this might finish that move and then downside because they all have a little up move, but they all have a little up move in a small flat, right? The flat right in this range. This one is completing a bigger flat, which means a move to that level. And then you have this bigger running flat. That would be downside. That would absolutely be downside. And let's see, TRX. This could also go complete that flat. I don't think it's completed here. We can make an argument for, is it over there? If it's over there, look for the sell setup here. A break of this is a sell. Could that be? Yeah, that could be enough. That fits enough. It doesn't have to be, right? Can it make one more up there and then come down? Also possible. You will not get the sell, right? If it breaks the top, you'll take off the sell. You look for another sell from the top here. But if it goes now, the sell is a nice sell, put it here. You will just bring this down to that level and say, well, okay, that's it. That will be enough. We're assuming it could still go more. We'll always assume it could go a little more. So put the entry, and if they go higher, you'll take off the entry, and we'll look for a new sell setup. This looks downside, so this will make a flat. It's in the making of a flat right now because all of this is consolidating in this move. So it's downside. I don't know, we might make an argument for the flat is completed here already. And we're just going down. Right, because we've got a few flags here, see? So this could make a few flags downwards and then probably go back up. So that's a sell setup LTC. This one had a flat here, so this is probably making a similar flat here, the depth at which they came back to. See, they came back pretty deep and they're going up, so this could be a flat. I don't think this is the one starting that impulse. This move was pretty impulsive. This one is slow. So it's going to be one more down. ADA probably same thing. If you look at this as this running flat, then this is a sell. Let's take it off. Let's assume it's not a running flat. Let's say that this was an earlier flat in here, and this is trying to go up. Well, let's see. We've got to make a sharp move up like this, 1, 2, 3. So let's say you make 1, 2, you have to go up some more. Look for buy setups if you get it. This could be a buy because we didn't come back deep, right? They're less than 50% pullback. So it could continue to go up. Look for more upside if that happens. Right, so we'll see what happens with this when it goes. It's correcting. It's making a big correction in here, in this range. I think this is pretty clear. If you take the low there, we're making corrections in that range, right? This is the top of the first impulse. So we're just going sideways in this range. Come back to the top here, come back down, go back up and then drop. Series of thing there. So that's about it. Thank God we finish without any crash. So I think the computer is pretty working again, right? So, okay, guys, I just had to run the antivirus and it probably solved the problem. I don't know what was the problem. I don't think it was a virus, though. I think they did some repairs to a program that was a little destroyed or something. So all of you trade with care. To all my YouTube viewers, if you watched to the end, thank you for that. You might have learned something even if you don't trade these pairs. You've got to watch to the end to get this information from me. And please share it. Please watch it to the end and share it. That will help somebody else see it. Thank you. Have a great week ahead of you. If I will consider whether there's a lot of changes that I need to do an update, maybe Wednesday I'll do an update for you guys. So I'll stop the record.